Full Committee. Representative DeFazio of Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to the ranking member for calling today's hearing to hear from the FAA and stakeholders on the government's regulation of industry and the future of commercial space. This is an important and growing sector, but there are three main points that I hope we can move through and hear meaningful conversation about during today's hearing. I want to hear from each witness their view on these three things: the imperative for better integration of launches and reentries into the air traffic system, the significant need for thoughtful regulation of this blooming, largely unregulated industry, and a commitment to reducing the environmental damage associated with rocket launches. We don't have any real recent statistics, but in December of 18, 1,400 commercial flights containing, many thousands of Americans were detoured 70,000 miles because of a launch. In the future, with more and more launches, I would expect that we're going to see more and more delays. And I am not in favor of telling people in America who are traveling for pleasure or for work or family emergency, whatever reason they're on a commercial airplane, oh, sorry, your flight's going to be delayed, or you're going to be an hour and a half late and miss your connection because some millionaire or billionaire is going to experience 15 minutes of weightlessness. That's not right. And I want to see that that does not happen. I'll give the FAA credit for being conservative in determining how much airspace to block off and how long. I mean, safety is never subject to negotiation or compromise, and the FAA has rightly given these initial commercial space operations a wide berth to protect the safety of aircraft in flight. However, I understand that in May 2020, the FAA finally published a long overdue concept of operations that details the vision to better integrate launch and reentry vehicles as they transition through the air traffic control system. I further understand the FAA is working on a system called the Space Data Integrator that will allow for more narrowly tailored airspace closures and designations, essentially real time, minimizing disruptions caused by commercial space activity. I'm going to expect an update on that today, and I hope that the timeline is very short. Second, it's time to end the FAA's dual mandate. I dealt with this when I was a member of this committee. I sat in hearing after hearing and raised concerns about the idea that the FAA was the regulator, but also the promoter of commercial aviation, something left over from the Civil Aeronautics Board, left over from the dawn of the aviation era in the United States. I said, well, it's a mature industry. And I think it's a problem that you're regulating and promoting. And witness after witness from the FAA said, no problem, no problem. And then when we're the year of ValueJet, I tried again to strip out the promotion authority. My amendment was not approved. Then we were in conference. ValueJet went down. And I wasn't on the conference because I was pre-junior, but I got a call saying, hey, that amendment you had, that thing, where did we put it in the bill? And this was the old days, if it wasn't in our bill and it wasn't in the Senate bill, you put it in the bill. I said, well, it's not conferenceable. It wasn't in either bill. And they're like, oh, don't worry about that. And they stuck it in the bill. And we stripped away their promotional authority. So, I think, and I intend to soon introduce a legislation to do that. NASA can promote commercial space. Commerce Department can, promote it. Whomever. The private sector can promote it themselves. It is not up to the FAA to promote commercial space and regulate at the same time in the interests of public health and safety. So that, and I'm also have a concern that Congress, with the agreement of successive administrations, the industry has prohibited the FAA from regulating the design, operation of launch vehicles to protect the health, safety of passengers. We had a learning period which was extended to 2023, and that means, despite commercial human spaceflight and space tourism soon expected to become emerging markets, the FAA's hands will be tied. They won't be able to regulate for the safety of the flying public. I have serious concerns that some parts of the industry are talking about yet another extension of the moratorium. And then finally, the issue of the environment. I want to talk about black carbon, other environmental effects of rocket launches. Black carbon is soot, primarily emitted from kerosene-fueled rocket engines like SpaceX Falcon 9 or United Launch Alliance's Atlas V, and can have a particularly detrimental effect on the Earth's upper ozone layer. These emissions remain in the stratosphere for 3 to 5 years, so the destructive effects aren't short-term. I mean, at the moment, they're only 1% of the depletion of the ozone. But the industry is growing, and it's estimated to grow tenfold in the coming years. So does that mean it'll deplete 10 times as much of the ozone layer? And then also, commercial space launch vehicles emit a stunning amount of carbon dioxide. A SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket burns 400 metric tons of kerosene and emits more carbon dioxide in a few minutes than an average car would in 2 centuries of driving. Now, other vehicles are less intrusive in the environment because they don't require rockets to leave the atmosphere. One flight of a Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 launch, a vehicle designed to launch customers to a low stratum of space, is only expected to produce about the same amount of carbon dioxide as for business seat returning from London. And Virgin Galactic's President of Space Missions and Safety, Mr. Mike Moses, here today, so perhaps he can speak a little more about the environmental advantages of this type of launch vehicle. But more broadly, I want to hear from our industry stakeholders on what their companies are doing to address the environmental effects of space operations, because they have to be addressed and anticipated in the future. These are my chief concerns about the trajectory of this growing industry, and I'm really looking forward to this hearing to enlighten us on a path forward on some of these issues. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back to balance my time.